Hi guys, well here we are back on the Windows PC channel. Now this is on Windows 10 on my little old laptop. It's a Toshiba L630, so it's a slightly smaller screen than you're probably used to on a big one, but it works the same. It's Affinity Photo. We're going to modify channels in Affinity Photo on Windows to make intricate selections, and you can see the palm trees there. I'd hate to be cutting that out with the ordinary selection tool, which just wouldn't do it. So let's do it this way. Affinity Photo selection tools, which enable you to make all kinds of intricate selections and cutouts, are excellent. But as good as they are, they're not the only way to make a precise selection. Sometimes you're better off using channels. Very precise. Our starting image of the trees here is a good example, and you can download the images from the address in the description. That's on my website, the Affinity Downloads area, if you aren't familiar with it, but you might have your own images. So find the palm trees, a bit of foreground, and here we're going to try and select all of the sky, but not with normal selection tools. If you try it with the selection brush, then it would take a long time to pick out all the bits that show through the palm leaves. Mission impossible. However, by turning to channels instead, we can isolate parts of the image based on colour and brightness, which makes things quicker and more precise. In this project, we'll look at how to use channels to isolate the original dull sky and drop in a much more interesting background. We begin by choosing the channel that gives us the greatest contrast between land and sky, then modify it to increase the contrast so that one part is white and the other part black. It's this contrast that enables us to make a precise selection. Then we can blend our two layers or the mask and tone them to match. Whether you want to replace a sky like this, mask a person with tricky hair, or make all manner of precise cutouts, the channel technique is a great trick to understand and employ. So download the start images and then open Channels Before 01 and Channels Before 02 into Affinity Photo. Go to the 01 image, select Edit and Copy. Fairly straightforward. Then go to the Sky image 02 and click Edit and Paste. Now it won't paste it over the top, it'll paste it into its own layer. So you now have two layers. Fairly easy, pointing to them there. The background, which is the orange sky, and the foreground, well, it's still called background, but it's the trees one with its own sky. Make a duplicate of the tree's image so that there are two tree layers and one sky layer. Now they're all called background, so let's fix that. Rename the layers to background mask, trees and sky, in that order from the top down. It's worth noting here that if you use your own photo images, you must rasterize the images so they're pixel type images, as you can see there. If you have the word image after sky or trees or background mask, you'll run into all sorts of problems. It won't work. They need to be pixel layers. Now, go to the Channel Studio and click through each of the composite red, green and blue channels. We're looking for the channel that gives us the greatest contrast between the trees and sky. And in this case, with skies, this is likely to be the blue channel. Make sure you have the top layer, the background mask, selected in the Layers panel. Now, to isolate the blue channel that we need, the red and green channels in the lower section should be cleared by right-clicking each of the red and green mask layers and selecting Clear. That just switches them off. They'll actually turn to little black icons once you tap on Clear. You can see it there. You've got composite blue, composite green and composite blue, red, green and blue, and then background, mask background, mask red and green, and they're turned off. There's nothing in them. But you can now see the blue channel layer in the layers section. See that? You can see the layer I've got highlighted there, and you can see the blue that's been selected. We can use our top layer as a template for selections. Highlight the composite blue channel. Next, open the Adjustment Studio and tap the Levels adjustment and bring in the blacks and whites to increase contrast. Now I've used 14% black and 90% white. It may differ for your images. Close the Levels adjustment box. Now, still in the layers, drag the Adjust Levels layer into the top layer. You know how to do that. It forms a small group shown by the little triangle. You can collapse that if you like and select that top layer. So you've still got 3 layers. Now, select the brush tool and paint black over the foreground details. That's the road, the bins, the rubbish, the people, everything below that skyline. Change it to absolute black. You want to remove all of the foreground, land, seats, etc. Use care here. Remember, select the top blue icon layer, not the adjustment layer. So if you collapse that top layer, so it's not an expanded group, it'll be highlighted and that's the one you use. And just be careful, don't have your brush set too high. Don't know if you can see it on here, it's a very small image. Okay. Width 109 pixels, I think that is. Opacity 100. Flow 30%. Hardness 100%. Yeah, just use that brush to carefully turn everything there black. If you think some of the trees need a bit of black in them, do that too. But generally, they're not too bad. Next, paint white over any parts of the sky that remain grey. This doesn't have to be exactly detailed, just get rid of any obvious big grey patchy areas. And you might be able to see a little bit there. There's a tree in the centre and there's still a bit of grey near the top of that. But it's not too bad. You don't have to be detailed with this. You're not trying to paint around the leaves, just getting rid of big patches of grey. Now, right-click the composite blue channel, not the layer that you've been working on, but the composite blue channel, and select Load to Pixel Selection. So you've got your composite blue channel, right-click on it, and select Load to Pixel Selection. It will immediately show you all of the crawling ants. The channel is selected, which is just what you want. Now we're getting closer. Next, hide the top layer. That's the top layer in your Layers panel. And select the layer below. Now, it's not showing that on that image there, but you understand the layers. Hide the top layer, untick it, and select the next layer down. Next, open the Channels Studio and toggle on the red and green composite channels. That is, turn on the little eye. They've got an eye next to them. You can turn on the eye and so on. Now, to invert only the pixel selection so we replace the sky, go to Select in the top toolbar and then select Invert Pixel Selection. Nothing dramatic will happen except that the crawling ants will change slightly. And don't forget this step. In the Layers command line, you can see the layers there, and the command line at the bottom, select the Mask Layer little icon there to add the mask layer and convert the selection to a mask. And that's what happens. This should hide the original sky. Your orangey coloured sky should now be visible. The mask is in place, and you can see in the layer there, the mask is just below the trees. Second layer there. Excuse me. I mean, you've got all those crawling ants there. To hide the crawling ants, you can select Control D or go to Select and tap on deselect. That removes the crawling ants, as you can see. You now have a new image with the new dramatic sky in place and very nicely behind the foreground. You can make any further adjustments you need now and you have a much more dramatic sky. So that's it for this little tutorial. Just a few short steps and you have a very detailed selection process at your fingertips, usable in lots of situations. So my friends, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the thumbs up to give the video a like. It makes it easy for me to count and I really appreciate it.